Tonight we are going to discuss one of the most important aspects, which sometimes is called by ulama of akhlaq as the root cause of all evil. Although it is very, very difficult to point out any particular thing and say this is the root cause, because they are all so very much interlinked that the one cannot be separated from the other. Yet importance has been laid on this particular thing, and that's why we will discuss it tonight in as much of brevity as possible. The subject itself can be spread into several lectures, but the idea is to summarize as much as I can, because I might not be here for the next 2 weeks. I'll be traveling inshallah on Wednesday. But before I start, I have been requested to say something about Namaz-e-Ayat, which seems to have escaped the attention of many. Among the obligatory prayers, it is not only namaz 5 times a day. There are other obligatory prayers, wajib namaz. Among them is namaz when there is an earthquake, when there is a moon eclipse, and when there is a sun eclipse. And there is namaz-e-ayat when there is an epidemic which also is coupled with some fear. I mean, it's not only epidemic, but there must be fear. Like, God forbid, when there is plague which is spread by rats and mice. When there is plague and there is an epidemic, then people die like flies. And there is a terror within the minds of many as they see other people fall on the street dying. At that particular moment in time, there is some fear in your mind generated by the situation that is prevailing. Namaz-e-ayat becomes wajib upon you alone, in whose mind the fright and the fear has been produced. But as far as other namaz-ayat are concerned, they are the word ayat means signs. Ayat is a sign, nishani. Ayat is signs of God. And many people believe that we have been asked to pray when sun eclipse occurs or moon eclipse occurs because this is a sign of Allah's displeasure, Allah's anger. But this is not true. It has got nothing to do with Allah's displeasure or anger. If it had been, it would not have been predicted. You can forecast and predict sun eclipse and moon eclipse for even a century if you want, if you know the science. You can tell the whole world when will the shadow be cast. So you can't predict Allah's displeasure. It is a sign. Actually, what the Prophet wanted those Arabs of the early years to understand is to be able to concentrate on that particular sign and ponder over it as to what happens that suddenly that which was so bright and brilliant became totally dark. What was the meaning of eclipse? And if you are interested in reading that chapter, you will find people invented so many stories about eclipse. Even today, some ladies believe that there is a serpent, there is a snake with an open mouth, and it devours the moon gradually. It actually eats up the moon gradually. And that is why there is a gradual eclipse, progression of eclipse, because it is devouring it. So there are people who believe so many stories and things. But actually the Prophet said, this is ayat, ayatum min ayatillah, sign among the signs of God in the universe. So therefore, at that particular time, the namaz is just to say, Ya Allah, we assert and reaffirm our faith in you, who can cause the exceptions to general rule. An eclipse is an exception to a general rule. A general rule is a progression of moon from umbra, penumbra to full moon. But this is an exception to it, that you find that it's suddenly eclipsed. This can happen to us. And there are changes in the climate, in the universe with the eclipse. This is now understood by all the scientists. So if it is a total eclipse, just as it is tonight, then if somebody has missed it out, there is a qada for it. There is a qada. But this eclipse should have occurred in the place and country you live. Not the eclipse that was seen in India or in other part and there was no eclipse here, then you just heard the news, there is no namaz-ayat. Namaz-ayat is applicable when it happens in the country or place you live. Similarly, earthquake also in the place where you live. But in earthquake, after the quake, suddenly you stand up and pray namaz-ayat. This is it. But as far as eclipse is concerned, the time is as long as the eclipse endures. After it has been released, then of course there is qada if there is a total eclipse. If it has been a partial eclipse, there is no qada. There is no qada, but you have missed one wajib namaz, that's all. That is the reason why when we give niyabat of namaz after somebody has died, we give niyabat. Many people come and say, our parents have missed perhaps 5 years prayers, or 7 years prayers, or whatever. When we give niyabat, we include 4 namaz-ayat per annum together, so that even if there had been eclipses or anything, he is acquitted of that. Tonight, if you have not prayed, the eclipse, as I am given to understand, will be lasting up to 10 o'clock. And it is wajib to pray, you cannot ignore it. It's just as wajib as namaz al-zuhr, maghrib and isha. And for the ladies, upon whom there is no namaz, like if they are in their periods, then upon them there is no namaz-ayat also, and there is no qada for them also. So this I wanted to clarify, and namaz-ayat can be prayed, because it is wajib, it can be prayed in jamaat also. What is the method? The method is that it has got 5 ruku in each rakat. So you say Allahu Akbar with a niyat of namaz-ayat and start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Surah Al-Hamd. And then you read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad, and you go to ruku. You rise up again and you can only read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul huwallahu ahad, Surah, and go to ruku. And again rise and only Surah Qul huwallahu alone, and again go to ruku, and again rise. There's no need to repeat Surah Al-Hamd in every ruku. But if you did, it will be a complete namaz-ayat. If you did not, it is still sahih and correct namaz-ayat. You can do it only with Surah Qul huwallahu ahad alone every time. Not only that, you can also divide Surah Qul huwallahu into 5 ayats. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad, wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. These are 5 separate parts. You can divide even this into separate 5 parts and repeat only this each ayah every time before ruku. Even that is enough. The idea is what is wajib is 5 ruku in every rakat. 10 ruku total. It doesn't take long. Qunut is sunnat in this, and qunut is before every second ruku. So what will happen? In first rakat, there will be first qunut before second, and then before fourth. In second rakat, it will be in the first ruku, because it will, then third, and then fifth. Because every second ruku must be preceded by qunut. But qunut is sunnah. But if you remember the ruku, and there are 5 in each, then inshallah namaz-ayat is offered. So this is wajib, and we must teach our children And we should keep this in mind so that whenever it occurs, we should offer it. Now in akhlaq, the subject that I have proposed is a subject which applies to all of us. And the problem is that when an orator or a speaker speaks on this subject, most of the listeners believe that he is telling me. Now some of our people have got such a head size that every pagdi fits. We can't, you see, we just cannot help. Because if every cap fits, you cannot just help. But then, all of us are in the same boat. After all, we are all human beings. So nothing personal is there, but it actually portrays the situation as it stands today. The first and foremost root of every problem in human conduct is that every human being loves himself. Every human being loves himself. And this is further divided, or it branches out into two things. Gradually it develops into ego. That is not only loving itself, oneself, but self-congratulation, congratulates oneself. And gradually there comes a time, I think those children there, sitting there, either they must be told not to sit there and go away because they want to play, or they must be controlled by the parents and not by the Jamaat. Because I am disturbed because I can see them there. If they can't behave in Imambara, they should be asked to get out from here. If they have only come here for food, then they may better go for food at home. So, we come to a situation where a man not only loves oneself, but also congratulates oneself. And then there comes a place where what Sharia says is ujub, that means egocentric. One is all the time inwardly drawn, thinks of nobody else but oneself. Some psychologists have told us repeatedly that sometimes children in the house, when they are born and they are in the first year, they weep and they cry not because they are hungry, not because they have not been breastfed. They have just been fed. Yet you will hear them yell and cry. That yelling and crying is to tell you that I have been ignored, I exist. Look at me. And suddenly, as it is natural, the mother would rush, take the baby into her arm, and you find the child is calm. It has got that satisfaction now in it that I have been noticed. Now this grows as I grow together. And there comes a time that I have a yearning that I must be noticed. And this is the reason why, standing before a mirror, if you have a time to look at a young man when he prepares himself to go out, and you will wonder, we elders wonder because our days have gone. And we forget, we tend to forget that once upon a time we were the same as they are now. So we sometimes wonder, why can they waste their time? But a boy is standing, or a girl, before the mirror, and posing before the mirror is trying to evaluate his presence, and in his unconscious or subconscious is thinking as to how will he be viewed by the others when he is going now to Imambara or to a marriage party or whatever, and what will be the effect, how presentable he is. So that is the reason why you find him, after having applied hair oil or bridal cream or whatever, and then he tries to do his hair, and he is not satisfied. He does it all over again. And then he looks at himself from all angles, till he finds that it's all right. After having donned a shirt, he tries to look at himself this way in the mirror, and then that way, and sometimes if he can manage, if he's not very fat, all around. So the best thing that human beings were able to invent was a mirror. The only faithful companion which tells me the way I am. But I don't want to believe in it. Because the mirror will tell me. When we were young in the school, there was a small lesson. If you all remember, all of my age, there was a small lesson in English reader where a small princess used to look at the mirror on the wall and say, "Tell me, glass upon the wall, who is most beautiful of all?" And every morning, every young man stands up before the mirror, unconsciously says, "I am really very handsome," and the mirror tells him, "You are the ugliest on earth." But he doesn't want to believe because we see what we want to see. We always see what we want to see. We don't want to see that which we would not like to see. And therefore, we would like to see what we believe we are by self-congratulation, a habit of ego, which has been developed to an extent that we are now egocentric. Now remember, to a certain extent, man must have an ego. If he doesn't have that ego, then he is not a man, he's an animal. Remember, I know this. Don't come tomorrow and tell me, "Mullah Sahib, how can you exist?" The reason being, suppose when I come out of the Imambara here, as I come out onto the road, and I do confess and admit that we don't have a very wonderful exit here. If there is no ego, then I would just rush out without looking right and even left, just as if I exist alone on earth. But the very fact that I check right and check left to save myself and to keep secure and to avert any accident so that I may live on, I may not die, and the possession I have may not be damaged. The prime concern is security and safety. This is because of ego. Therefore, to a certain extent, ego is essential for our security and safety. But when it becomes an obsession, then what happens? Then you talk about the earth, he will talk about who? Gujarati who? Urdu, my, and English, capital I. It's always capital. That I is always capital, regardless of whether it is preceded by a full stop or not. Why? Because a man is obsessed with ego. Always talks about oneself. Always. And he is always thinking of what other people think. And from there starts so many evils in akhlaqiyat, which have been enumerated one after the other. The root cause is what in Arabic is called ujub, loving oneself. Now when one congratulates oneself too much and believes that he is an extraordinary existence, and he compares himself with everyone and finds himself better, intellectually, physically, in all other aspects, he finds himself to be superior to others. He believes in it. And his evaluation of himself is different altogether, above everybody. Gradually that goes as takabbur. The beginning is not takabbur, the beginning is loving oneself too much. Then it goes to pride. Now, when this begins, and this is the problem that we have at the moment, then there are two ways of treating it. One treats, either one becomes so very much withdrawn that doesn't want to talk to anybody, because to him everybody else is a donkey. He is the only one human being. So he feels that he can remain in the ivory tower. Or he tries to belittle others, ridicule, jeer, scoff, because he wants to dominate and prove that his obsession with self-love is a truth which can be projected outside. In both the cases, the world does not care. It has been said that one who thinks that he can live without the world is a fool. But one who believes that the whole world cannot live without him is a greater fool. In both the cases, a man is trying to deceive himself. And therefore, from there starts what Father Nuraqi has written. Two first small evils, very small. One, the desire for being praised. Madah. When we were training ourselves for oratory, I don't say that I'm a very good orator, but when we used to go to learn oratory and trying to discard what they called stage fright, because I remember very well when I stood for making a speech, the first time I used to hold the table from both the ends so that I don't fall down, and the feet were trembling, you see. And it was the elders of the community who at the end of the speech came to congratulate and say, wonderful, really, that was very brave of you. That gradually gave us self-confidence. But the tutor was a psychologist. He told us repeatedly that these are mannerisms, right? How to stand and why not to tremble. These are mannerisms. This you will learn, and everyone has got his own way of expression. Don't worry about that. But what we want to tell you is never, never think of being praised. Never try to impress from the beginning. That means when you are leaving your home to go to speak, never think, how will I impress? And what will be the response and reaction? If you are engaged in or worried about the impression that you will create, you will never speak. You speak and tell them whatever they want, and be brief in your submission, be to the point in your submission, and go. If it has been delivered properly, it will impress. If it has not been delivered properly, it will not impress. Repeat sometimes again. But do not get yourself preoccupied. Now let's just take an example. Madh. The Prophet ﷺ said, and this is in his those small and brief advices, which are known as kalam qisar, means brief hadith. He says, "Uhfu turab ala wujuhil maddahin." When you find someone who persistently comes to praise you in your presence, आप तो ऐसे लाखों में एक पाए गए हैं, तुमसा नहीं देखा. You are one in million. We haven't seen like you. Aap aise, aap double paise. Now, if you find a person who persistently comes to you to praise you, uhfut turab ala wujuhil maddahin. When such a person comes, take dust in your hand and throw into his mouth. Why? Man madahaka faqad dhabahak. Whoever praises you persistently in your presence actually slaughters you. Do you understand the implication of what the Prophet said? It is said that there was a Qadi whom the government, in the days of Abu Abbas, the governor wanted to have the judiciary under his control. No judiciary is under the control. Judiciary is supposed to be independent. This Qadi was an independent man. But the governor wanted somehow to influence him so that certain judgments could be according to the government's liking. But the man would never come. He sent some money to him. The Qadi or the judge returned. He said, I don't accept any gifts because I've got a very solemn duty to perform. So one day he said, now this man does not take any cash gifts. Let us invite him to a breakfast. And he was invited to a breakfast, and there was a sumptuous breakfast. It was not oriental, continental breakfast. It was oriental breakfast. And of course, when he sat there, people were there ready to start. Assalamu alaikum, Mawlana. MashaAllah. There is none like you. You are the best Qadi the world has ever seen. And the other fellows, oh, for your piety, for your virtue, you are really impeccable. And the other, you are impartial, you are this, and we are proud to have you. And then the governor himself would say, "E wallah," yes, yes, there's no doubt about it. And gradually he was bought over. Man madahaka faqad dhabahak. He came to a stage where he could not say no. When he could not say no, because he has been burdened with so much of praise now that he cannot say no. Because he fears that if he says no, the praise will turn into something else. He wants to maintain that praise. This begins with self-love. Now let us take another example. Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah salamu alayhi has a guest. And the guest is there. For 3 days, Imam did not ask him what is the purpose of visit. Because Islamic ethics and Islamic manner require not to ask your guest for at least 3 days as to what have you come for. On the 4th day, you will not tell him what have you come for. I mean, this is not the way to talk to a guest. But to inquire if there is any service that he requires of you. The 4th day, can I be of any help to you? Perhaps you have come here. There is something you would like us to do for you. But not for the first 3 days. So Imam al-Islam kept quiet. On the 4th day, Imam al-Islam said, "Brother, is there anything I can do for you?" He said, "Yes, Ya Mawla. I have a problem, a dispute, trade dispute, money dispute with someone in Kufa, and I would like you to be the judge." Imam al-Islam said, "Not this time. Not while you are my guest." Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you are a host, at the same time the arbitrator, you will never be able to judge impartially. Either both the parties must be your guests together, or neither of them must be your guest. So this time you will have to go back. Next time when you come, I will have to be as impartial as I can. This time I am your host. Do you understand this implication? There is nothing like to say that because you have praised me, because Ali ibn Abi Talib wants to teach us a lesson which says that self-ego, love of self will have to first be eradicated for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, we spoil our people. You read dua like Lahne Dawoodi, means like the, what do you call, Hazrat Dawood had a very sweet voice. But have you heard Hazrat Dawood? And you are giving compliments, and then that man gradually believes that there is, and this is not the way of encouraging our children. The way of encouraging our children is to say, MashaAllah, but you can do better. You can do better. You can do better. This is the way of, this is what Allama Majlis alayhi Rahmah says, that when my son used to come back, I used to tell him, but you can do better. And he would think, and say, my father is not giving me 100% yet. Comes again, I say, MashaAllah, I did well, but you can do better. When it happened 4 times, 5th time he went to complain to his mother and said, my father is very cruel. He never says you have done well. He always says you can do better. So the wife complained. She said, now tomorrow when he comes, give him full mark. Majlisi alayhi Rahmah said, if I give him full mark, that will be the full stop. I'm telling him he can do better, and I find every time I tell him he can do better, he does better. He's trying to progress. Man madahak faqad dhabah. That is madah. It starts. And the problem is, have tane mara vakhan karo. You please praise me. There comes a shameless request. You rub my back so that I may rub yours. And it takes you to slavery. How much? In this society, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, it is not there. But come with me sometimes to India. And come with me sometimes to other parts of the world where there is poverty. Where there is poverty. And there I will show you how poor people are forced to indulge in singing songs of praise for the rich people. If they don't, their monthly assistance is stopped. Because that disease of madah has already made roots. From this, there is a desire of shuhrah. This is second, Fadil Nuraqi says. Shuhrat means to have fame spread all over. My name to reach every nook and corner. I should be remembered everywhere. This is called shuhra. This yearning comes with madah. It started with love of self. From there, praise is showered upon me. Now I want to be known all over. And this spread of fame, to be renowned all over the world, is a disease itself. Because now a man is trying to cross the geographical boundaries. And then finally, Fadil Nuraqi says, comes hubbul jah. And he makes a difference between the two. In shuhra, it is the fame spreading. But in hubbul jah, jah means the yearning and desire of controlling human minds. That means there must be my control over your desire. Your intention must be subservient to my intention. What I say must be done. I am the monarch of all I survey. As Robert Louis Stevenson said, I am the monarch of all I survey. My right there is none to dispute. You know, when Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam built Kaaba, what did he say? Quran says, when he and Ismail built Kaaba, what did he say? He knew that the heads of mu'mineen will bow down before it. He knew that. He did not ask, Ya Allah, I have prepared this Kaaba so that the heads may bow down before it. Is it there? It's not there. وَاجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِ. Not the heads. Ya Allah, make the hearts of people bow down. So to have people bowing down heads is very easy. To have people bowing down their hearts towards you is quite difficult. In Jah, one tries to control the heart, which is uncontrollable. You can't control, can you? Can you control? There's no need to go into details of people think sometimes. They ask my wife there in the house as to what food you provide to Mullah. Sometimes he gets very much irritated. So if I'll go on the line that I have thought of, I'll get irritated. But I can tell you one thing. It's a common practice to pray behind someone considering him as adil, and the moment he turns his back. So you can't control the hearts of people, can you? Can you control the heart? Can you control the conscience? You cannot. Seemingly he may come and kiss your hand also. But what is there in his mind? No one knows. So in Jah, one tries to control even the minds, which is impossible. And that is a disease. Because never do this. Leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now what is the answer? I will not go into the last one, for it is inshallah when I come back. But the answer is, as ulama akhlaq say, that do whatever you can do in the best possible manner and live in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Qurbatan ilallah. It is up to him to spread it. For example, namaz-e-shab, tahajjud. It is such a pleasant experience to rise in the morning. Allah may grant us that tawfiq, that we may come out for namaz-e-shab. For those who have problems this is a business community. I always give some medicine for business. For those who have problems in rizq, in business, try namaz-e-shab and see how things work, sort out. And this is not from me. Mulla Ali alayhi salam said this, that whoever complains to you that his rizq is now reduced or he is getting problem in his earnings, tell him to begin namaz-e-shab. And if he complains even after that, he is a liar. Imam alayhi salam has said, try. What a pleasant experience it is to rise early in the morning when everybody is asleep in the home and we are alone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even for half an hour before namaz. So, but I am told, keep it a secret. Yes, I am told, keep it private. Allah wants your sunnat amal to remain. Don't tell people. Not even indirectly. No. कल सवेरे बहुत जल्दी उठा ना, so that people may ask काहे को उठे? वो तो मैं वो कभी कभी जनाब अरे, trying to fool whom? You see, the best thing is to keep quiet about it. Never speak. So people say, Ya Allah, Ya Rasulullah. But how? It's, after all, it is human. People like to see that my excellence, my good part is noticed. Huh? The Prophet gave a very beautiful answer. He said, leave it in the hands of Allah. Leave it in the hands of Allah. It will be. There is a way. He knows how to do it. You have given £5 without anybody knowing. I can guarantee you that £5 in which we have made the arrangement that none should know. Not even the left arm, because I've given with the right. That also, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, it is somehow spread in a beautiful manner, not by you, from where nobody knows. Man has died, but the sweet fragrance of his deeds spread after his death. Mufti Abu Muhammad Abbas, one of the greatest ulama in India, Mufti Muhammad Abbas, rahmatullah alayh. I mean, India has not been able to produce an alim of that caliber for the last 200 years. A man who wrote Mannu Salwa at the age of 11 years. Master of Arabic and Persian and ulum fiqhiyya that ulama of Najaf and ulama of Qom acknowledged in those days. He used to pray namaz-e-shab and nobody would know, not even the wife. Sometimes he would take a lantern and go into a dilapidated mosque outside there, telling the wife that if I go out, I go to meet ulama for discussion and all that. He would go there and pray. At home, none would know that Mufti Muhammad Abbas is namaz-e-shab. When he died in the sajda-e-shukr of namaz-e-shab. You know, after namaz-e-shab, sajda-e-shukr is mustahab. After namaz-e-shab is over, it is mustahab to go to sajda-e-shukr and say, Ya Allah, grateful to you for having given me this chance. That sajda-e-shukr is of highest esteem and value. He went into sajda-e-shukr to say, Ya Allah, shukran lak, and he died at the end, of course, of his life. While none knew that this man was a regular namaz-e-shab worshipper. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted this to be known at the end of his life. Early in the morning when his children, his wife, all woke up to see why Mawla is, they found him on musalla and they found him in sajda. And when they went near to wake him up, they found he was dead. And a person who is dead for several hours sometimes may develop what you doctors say, rigorous mortis, where you cannot even move your. But the moment they moved him, all his limbs were straight. Died. So sometimes we do something we want to hide. Allah says, hide it. Leave it up to me. I shall make it public at the time I think is right. So if I understand this, then if I am asked to read majlis, or if I am asked to read Dua Kumail, if I am asked to give adhan, if I am asked to make charities, if I am asked to do anything good to my friends, my brothers, my children, sisters, all in the community, Allahu Akbar, there will be no reason for congratulating oneself or trying to advertise. So this is what in Dua Makarimul Akhlaq Imam alayhi salam says, وَأَجْرِي لِلنَّاسِ عَلَى يَدَيَّ الْخَيْرِ. Ya Allah, allow my hands, upon my hands, that some good deeds for people may occur. some good deeds through my hands may pass for the people. وَأَجْرِ لِلنَّاسِ وَعَبِّدْنِي لَكَ, and make me worship you and no one. وَلَا تُفْسِدْ عِبَادَتِي بِالْعُجْبِ, and let not my worship be spoiled by self-love and self-congratulations. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.